even through my stupidity, God still had his hands on me.
Wow.
And I think that's the best way for me to describe it. God loved me at a time when I didn't love myself. He saved me at a time when I was praying to die. He saw something in me and knew my purpose when I didn't know what my purpose was. And that would be my testimony. I always believe that if you commit suicide, you wouldn't go to heaven.
Okay.
So in my mind, if I just take 7, 8 pills a day, and if I just wash them down with alcohol and I just go to sleep, then that wouldn't be suicide. And I would die and I would be with my kids. And when that didn't work, I just drank. And I said I could just drink my problems away. And then that didn't work. And then I would drive and I would just pray to have a 1-car accident. And that didn't work. And so all the times when I was trying to kill myself without technically killing myself, looking back, it was stupidity. It was Nikki not realizing that she's here for a reason. And so that's why I always say that even in my stupidity, God still loves me. And he still saved me. He still had his hands on me. Wow. My kids first died, I used to hear voices in my head, just a lot of voices. And then I went to the mental institute, and this lady, like a nurse, she walked up to me, and she gave me these pills. And time I took the pills, it's like the voices stopped. I went numb. Like I didn't think of nothing. Like instantly I was hooked. It wasn't even that I was hurting and then took the drugs. It was, I'm just going to keep taking the drugs so that I can stay numb. Like I didn't even allow myself to hurt. I didn't allow myself to exist. I didn't even allow myself to grieve. I just knew that if I take pills, that I don't have to be in reality. When you go through something like I went through, and you go to a mental place or to a counselor, you can always use that as an excuse, and they'll always give you drugs. Like I wasn't even grieving, hurting, and I could just go up there and say, my kids died, and he'll give me whatever I wanted.
Wow.
Anything I wanted. Anything I wanted. And that happened for years. And I knew that I could always use that as an excuse for not living or for always getting drugs or always being on alcohol. People would always excuse what I was doing because my kids died. Like no one really held me accountable for anything. They would just be like, oh yeah, give her the drugs. Her kids died. Wow. When my husband killed himself, my mom was on the phone with him. Oh. And so my mom, when he killed himself, she thought it was pots and pans falling. And she didn't realize what happened until the police picked up the phone and told her. So for years, my mom would just hear these gunshots, and she would hear pots and pans falling. Like if you dropped the pot, my mama would freak out. So for years, I wouldn't go around my mom because I felt so guilty, for putting her through that. And her diabetes got out of hand, and, she just started getting depressed, and she started getting sick. And so I didn't really go around my mom for a long, long time. And so one night, my mama called me, and she said, Nikki, I just want to see you. And I was so high, and I was like, I can't go around my mom like this. And she said, I just want to put my hands on you. I just want to put my eyes on you. And I said, oh, Mama, I'll come over there tomorrow. And my mama begged me to come and see her, and I wouldn't. And so the next day I got up, and I went to my mom's house, and I walked in the door, and I said, Mama, you want a Coca-Cola? And she didn't answer. So I went in the refrigerator, and I got her a Coca-Cola, and I went back in her room, and I sat on the bed, and I touched her. I said, Mama, why are you not talking to me? And my mama was dead. Wow. And my mama felt like a cold pack of meat, like if you defrosted meat. And my mama was blue, and she had this stuff coming out of her mouth, like fluid. And she had my daughter's Dora doll in the bed with her. and she had my son Spider-Man in the bed with her. And I couldn't even call 911. I was just stuck. And it was like reality. It was like, Nikki, this could be you. Like your only thing your mama wanted you to do was to come see her. And you were so selfish. And you were so high. And you were so into yourself that you couldn't give your mama her dying wish. And so it was like instantly. It wasn't Nikki wanting to get off the drugs. It was just, Nikki, get yourself together. Like, Nikki, you can't let your brother and sister find you like this. Like my mom, I had no memories from when my kids died to when my mama died. I have no pictures from when my kids died to when my mama died. Like, it's like I died when my kids died, and my mama died when my kids died. And when I saw her like that, it's like I didn't even want any more pills.
Wow.
But I think it took that. If someone would have told me she was dead, I would have got high. If somebody would have told me, you know, what happened to her, I probably would have killed myself. But seeing her, it saved me. And I always tell people that my mama died to save me. Because I don't know where I would have been if I wouldn't have found her. And I don't have any liver damage. I don't have any problems from the drugs or the alcohol. Like, I'm perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. And I know that there were people that took far less than me and didn't wake up. And I woke up every day. Me, the person that didn't appreciate life. Me, the person that went to sleep and prayed to die. God allowed me to wake up every day. Every day. And so now my life is so much different than when my kids were alive. Because I was happy then, and I'm happy now. And it's a different happy, but it's a peaceful happy. And I can't really explain it. Like I used to value money. Now I value time, and I value people. And I value the smallest thing. I appreciate things that most people overlook. I appreciate rainy days, and I appreciate sunny days. I appreciate bad days. I'm just so appreciative to be alive. And it hurts me when I hear people complaining. And people complain about stuff that I pray for. And I was in the grocery store, and this lady was like, her kids were getting on her nerves. And I would say, I just wish I could have your problem.
Wow. Jesus.
I meet people that haven't talked to their parents in years. And they're arguing over something simple. Simple. And I just wish I could argue with my mama.
Wow.
Well, when I was growing up, we went to church, but I always felt like it was something that I was supposed to do. You know, just go. And my sister and I used to go just because they would feed us after church. So I always believed in God, but it was more, it wasn't a relationship. It was more religion. It was more of, if you don't go to church, God is going to strike you down. It was more out of fear. So when I got older and I had the decision to go to church, I didn't go because I had went so much when I was younger, although I still believe in God. But then when my kids died, I thought I had been living my whole life, had been living a lie. And I said, there is no God. How can God take children? How can God allow this to happen to me? You know, I'm not a scammer. I don't kill people. I don't do all these things, and He allowed this to happen to me. So I felt like my grandma lied to me my whole life. No, there is no God. And then one day, I'm going to tell you, one day I was really, really depressed. And I tried to go to church. And this was after my kids died. And I had on some jeans. They were kind of ripped up. and I had on a tank top, and my hair was standing all over my head. And I walked up to the church, you know, just to, I don't know what I was looking for, but I was looking for something. And I walked up to the church, and this old lady, she looked at me, and she said, "Are you in the right place?"
Wow.
And I looked at her, and I turned around, and I left. And I said, you know, okay, God, if there is a God, I came here for help. And look what I meet at the door. You know, I'm meeting resistance at the door.
Right.
So that lady for me was the church. That lady for me was her representation of God. Like that one lady. And she might not have meant nothing by it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like she judged me by my tattoos and everything. So I left. And so it took me another 3 years to even attempt to go back to church. So now in my journey, you know, then what happened is someone introduced me to a small church. It's like 8 people. And the difference between this church and the church when I was little is this church was kind of slower, and I learned and I listened. And that's when I got a relationship with God versus just religion, if that makes sense.
Yes, a lot.
And I understood that I didn't have to talk with the B's and the vowels. I didn't have to pray 30 minutes, and I didn't have to do all of the things that I thought you were supposed to do. That I could just talk to God and say, "Hey, God, you know, I don't know what's going on, but I need you." And that's why I learned, you know, after my kids died. And so now my relationship with God is so amazing. It's nothing spooky. It's nothing really really religious. It's more of, I have a friend. I have a protector. I have someone that guides me. I have someone that watches me. And no matter what I may sin, I might go backwards, but, you know, he wakes me up every morning. He's going to give me another chance. I really have to thank that one lady that turned me away from that church. And the reason why I have to thank her is because she made me understand a lot of the people that I help now. You know, I don't wear suits, and I don't, you know, when I speak, I'm just a normal person. And I attract normal people. And I meet people who felt like the church turned their back on them. And when I tell them now about my relationship with God, I can relate to them because it happened to me. You know, I tell them, maybe that wasn't the church for you. You know, maybe, you know, sometimes we go to church out of, because our mama went there, you know, our grandmama went there, and it just feels like tradition. But sometimes you have to break the tradition, and you have to go where God leads you. And it helps me relate to the gang members, because a lot of gang members call me. And it just helps me realize that a lot of times they're in the gangs because they feel like they're judged at the church. You know, sometimes they look for spiritual help, but they'll go to church and they smell like weed, or they not dressed appropriately, and they feel like when they go in that everyone is looking at them and that they shouldn't be there. And so that's when I can step in and I can say, "Let me tell you something." And then I talk to them. And I tell them, you know, it's an app on your phone that's the Bible. They can talk in regular terms. There's no D's and no thous. And you don't need all of that for God to accept you. So I always tell people, I thank that lady. You know, thankfully, she didn't turn me away from God forever. But I thank her because of her, I found a church home and where I'm supposed to be. The old Nikki was ungrateful. The old Nikki wasn't appreciative. The old Nikki judged people. The old Nikki thought she was better than everyone else. The old Nikki valued clothes and shoes and bags and money in the bank. And, you know, she looked down on other people. And this Nikki became, then there was a middle Nikki that became everything that was opposite of the first Nikki. And so now this new Nikki she appreciates everything. She values people and time versus money and bags and clothes. And she doesn't judge people. And she understands people. And she relates to people. This Nikki doesn't chase fame. She doesn't chase money. She chases God. And she's peaceful. And I can never say I was as happy now as I was when my kids was here, but I'm a new happy, and that's okay. And I like this new Nikki. You know, this new Nikki still struggles at times. You know, day to day, this Nikki sometimes has to get up and say, okay, Nikki, today is going to be a good day. Not this is going to be a good week. It's going to be, today is going to be a good day. And sometimes this Nikki has to say, okay, from 11 to 12 o'clock, it's going to be a good hour.
Mm-hmm.
But some days it's, okay, Nikki, 11:05 to 11:15, it's going to be a good day. I mean, a good time. So this Nikki is more patient. This Nikki is more understanding. And this Nikki just appreciates so much.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the best way to describe it. I am so peaceful. I could sleep. Unmedicated.
Wow.
So it's so great. I love this. My husband never really took me around his family, and I assumed it was because he always told me that he grew up poor, and so I just assumed that he was ashamed of them. So I really didn't question when we didn't go around. And then after he passed, I found out, you know, that a couple of people in his family had tried to commit suicide. A couple, now I don't know this for sure, but, you know, people, I knew that he was saying that his mom and dad were Muslim. And he was telling me that some of his family members didn't believe in God. And my husband never went to church, and my husband never talked about God. And I never questioned that. It was, I was not at a good place in my life when I met him, and he seemed to fill every void that I had. But looking back, I know that's because I told him every void that I had. So if I told him, you know, my son never spent time with his father, then he would come in and he would do it. So all the things that I thought were natural, like, oh my God, he's just the perfect man for me. And I now understand that I was giving him everything for him to give me back, so that I wouldn't realize what he actually was doing. My husband was very controlling, but I didn't realize that he was controlling because I was just so happy to have a man, you know. And looking back, you know, there was just things that I should have noticed, you know, like the controlling, or, you know, he moved me out of a place where I could afford by myself to a place that I couldn't afford without him. And he bought me cars that I couldn't afford without him. And, you know, he started making every decision, and I never questioned him about it. But, you know, looking back, I would never get in that situation again. It's hard for me because I can't say too much bad things about my husband, and I get a lot of criticism about it because people feel like that I defend him. And I tell people that the day that he killed the kids, that he wasn't himself. It was like a spirit. It was like a spirit that got in his body, because he talked different, and he moved different, and his eyes were different, and his tone was different. And I don't know if the man I was married to was the real Chad Payne, or if this spirit, if this demon that I saw that day was the real Chad Payne.
Right.
So it's hard for me, because it's hard when you love someone and you hate them at the same time, but then you think, are you hating them, or were they a good person but mentally ill, or were they just a bad person?
Right.
And I still battle with that. You know, things that I used to think that was spooky. You know how people say, oh, the devil, you know, it's a spirit and it'll jump in people. Like, I saw that day. But I don't know if the spirit got into him or if that spirit had been there the entire time. He had been out of town with my brother for like a week or two. My brother said he was fine, and I had been talking to him, and he was perfectly fine. And he got home, and he was fine. And he went to Walmart, and when he came back from Walmart, he just wasn't himself. Even my cousin, earlier that day, my cousin called me, and she said, does Chad have a twin brother? And I said, no. She said, I saw him in the mall, but he looked kind of dazed out, but he didn't speak to me, and he normally speaks to me. And I said, well, maybe he had something on his mind. But when I saw him at first, he was fine. And then he turned, you know, he went to the store, and he came back, and he was the person that my cousin said that he was.
Wow.
And at first, I thought it was a joke. I didn't really take it serious. I said, okay, he's playing. You know, and I was like, okay, this isn't funny. I don't like this joke. And then the first time he shot the gun, I can't even tell you I was scared. I was just shocked. And it's just like when you see on television how like everything stops. Like the TV, the birds, the noise. For like 3 or 4 minutes, everything stopped. And that's when I knew something was wrong. But I still can't say I was scared because I wasn't scared of my husband. I just thought it was a really bad joke.
Wow.
And I wasn't, he pointed the gun at me and he clicked it and it didn't go off. But I still wasn't scared. I can't really describe it. It was I flinched, but I wasn't scared. And even when I ran from the house, I never thought he would kill the kids. I was really trying to rationalize like what is going on. And even when I called the police, I didn't want them to lock him up, and I don't know why. I was just saying, you know, something's wrong with him. Like maybe he needs to go to a hospital. I'm thinking, did he take some drugs? Did he, you know, what happened on the road to make him do this? But I was really thinking he was sick. I didn't think that he was going to kill anybody. For the person that's seeing the signs that I have, I would say, are you with the person that you like, or are you with the person that you deserve? Because those are two different things. And I'm looking back, I know my husband wasn't a person that I deserved. You know, that was just a person that I liked. And I would tell them that if they have a feeling that something isn't right, they have to watch who the people that they ask the questions to. And I'll give an example. My husband was just like my stepdaddy. My husband was just like my brother. My husband was just like my uncle. So I picked a man that I was comfortable with. And even the chaos was comfortable because that was all I was used to. So anytime I had a question or I doubted something, I would ask my mom or I would ask my aunt. But I was asking the people who were in the same situation that I was. And so to them, it was comfortable. I never went to God with it. So I would tell someone, if you have that feeling, then maybe reach out to someone outside of your circle, outside of maybe people that you don't know, and ask them and get an objective opinion about it. And also go to God and ask God. And now when I meet people, I say, God, if it's not for me, if this person isn't for me, then block it. And seriously, it just get blocked. So that's what I would tell someone. Don't feel pressured to do anything. If you don't feel like going out, don't feel pressured to. I would always say um, grieving takes time. It's not cookie cutter. It's not textbook. Everyone grieves in a different way, and that's okay. But you have to find people that hold you accountable for what you're doing, and people that are understanding and say, well, I'll let you stay in the bed today, but tomorrow you got to get out, or tomorrow you got to get out for an hour or two. So someone that's caring but won't allow you to just grieve your life away. I would also say, look at the environment that you're in. So if you're grieving or you're going through something, are you still in the environment that's just torturing you, like I was telling you earlier? Or are you in a productive environment? I would say watch out for the people that you associate with, because I was attracting people that were just like me. So when I was on drugs, I was attracting people on drugs. When I was in a low place in my life, I was attracting people that were in a low place in their life. So I have to watch out who I'm attracting. So when I meet people that are grieving or going through something, who are you associating with? Are you associating with fountains or drains? Fountains are people that pour into your life, or are you associating with people that are draining the life out of you? So that makes a big difference in your recovery. I think I would also say, how is your relationship with God? Do you talk to God? Do you know God? Do you know that you can go to God in the shower? You can go to Him in the bed. It doesn't have to be something formal. But have you asked God to help you? Have you asked God to help you get through your ordeal? And if you ask Him, sometimes you have to ask to be quiet so that you can hear what He says back there. And so I think maybe that's some of the best things I can say about that. Don't feel pressured to do anything. If you don't feel like going out, don't feel pressured to. I would always say grieving takes time. It's not cookie cutter. It's not textbook. Everyone grieves in a different way, and that's okay. But you have to find people that hold you accountable for what you're doing, and people that are understanding and say, well, I'll let you stay in the bed today, but tomorrow you got to get out, or tomorrow you got to get out for an hour or two. So someone that's caring but won't allow you to just grieve your life away. I would also say, look at the environment that you're in. So if you're grieving or you're going through something, are you still in the environment that's just torturing you, like I was telling you earlier? Or are you in a productive environment? I would say watch out for the people that you associate with, because I was attracting people that were just like me. So when I was on drugs, I was attracting people on drugs. When I was in a low place in my life, I was attracting people that were in a low place in their life. So I have to watch out who I'm attracting. So when I meet people that are grieving or going through something, who are you associating with? Are you associating with fountains or drains? Fountains are people that pour into your life, or are you associating with people that are draining the life out of you? So that makes a big difference in your recovery. I think I would also say, how is your relationship with God? Do you talk to God? Do you know God? Do you know that you can go to God in the shower? You can go to Him in the bed. It doesn't have to be something formal. But have you asked God to help you? Have you asked God to help you get through your ordeal? And if you ask Him, sometimes you have to ask to be quiet so that you can hear what He says back there. And so I think maybe that's some of the best things I can say about that. To me, I've been through a lot of tragedy, but there's still some good that came out of it. And the good isn't necessarily that he saved my life, but the good is that I can talk to other people, and I can save other people's lives. Or although my kids are gone, their stories will help save other kids. And so that testimony, it still worked out for for the good. And it still shows how God can show out. And it still shows how God can bring you out of a pit and still let people see you shine. So that's what that scripture means to me.